Guys, hello. It's Sylvie McCracken, and I am doing a quick Facebook Live today. I wanted to really, I titled this kind of hashtag diagnosis time because this is something that it's a conversation that I've been having a little bit with my team and with clients and with potential clients for a while now. And it's something that's been coming up a lot. And I was like, you know what? Needs to be talked about. I need to bring this up on a Facebook Live. Mm. And if we haven't met yet, I'm Sylvie McCracken. I help health professionals create passive income. If you're not already in our Facebook group, this is being shared out in a few different places. So I'm not sure where you're seeing this, either on my personal profile, on my business page, or in my Facebook group, or maybe you saw this on an IG story. I would actually love to hear how you found this in the comments if you're watching the replay or if you're hopping on live. But I really want to chat about this because here's the deal. It's summer right now if you're watching this live. End of summer, some kids are going back to school any second now. Some are going back to school a month from now. It seems like all over the country, it's different times. And there's this little bit of a renewed energy. It's a little bit of that, like, it's almost like the January 1st renewed energy of starting something new. And so I'm sensing that in the air and in the conversations I've been having. And one of the things that comes up really often with our crowd, if you're watching this, probably 8 out of 10 people watching this are health professional. And, in our crowd, in health professional land, with docs, nurses, nutritionists, dietitians, health coaches, oh my God, I could be here all day, psychologists, psychiatrists, dentists, etc. There is a tendency to, you guys are such well-educated, super educated, over-educated, I would say, individuals. And there's a lot of, I love to call my clients, I tease my clients that they're researchaholics, right? There's a very studious crowd. It's a very well prepped crowd in many ways. And that serves you incredibly well in this field, right? In terms of course, depending on your profession, if you're, a doc, a surgeon, years and years of school is sort of part of the gig. And stacks of books consumed is sort of part of the gig. There's sort of no way around that. So obviously it attracts a certain type of crowd, and I think it also further creates this sort of learnaholic, right? For lack of a better term. And we just love to keep things sort of light and funny in our programs and with our clients. But, the reality is that there is a pro and a con to just about everything, right? And with that sort of researchaholic tendency, there is an incredible pro of just knowing, 10x what you even need to know for a lot of different things to be able to help someone, right? So to be able to help someone, let's keep it simple, with, their diet, or with, something like weight loss, you probably know 10 times the amount you need to know in order to actually help them, right? Awesome, amazing, super helpful, especially for complicated cases. And where it is an incredible hindrance is in this, in business, right? When it comes to speed of execution. And so one of the things that I hear a lot is, we talk to people who have been thinking about writing a book for a decade, or at least 5 years, or a good amount of time. Hey, Christine, good to see you here, girl. Thinking about it, researching it, or even worse, the worst one, in my opinion, is working on it, DIY, trial and error for a couple of years. That's sort of, someone that I spoke to not that long ago who was in this phase of like, yeah, actually investing. I mean, we couldn't even calculate how many actual hours of his time in trial and erroring it, mostly erroring it, because he wasn't a marketer, because he wasn't a writer, because he was incredible in his field, but really not that great at creating products and not that great at sales, and definitely not that great at monetizing things online, right? And so here's what I want to talk about, because the reasons that I keep, hearing come up a lot, and I put a couple of notes here because I, tend to go on tangents, in case you haven't noticed. If this is your first Facebook Live, I go on tangents often. But one of them is what I just kind of kicked off with. This research thing, right? Like, yeah, I definitely want to create a passive income stream. Hey, Carolyn, good to see you. Definitely want to create a passive income stream. Definitely want to create my online business. Definitely want to write a book. Definitely want to do all these things, but I need to do more research. Yo, time out. Can we talk about the research thing? Like, this is just one of the most common reasons that I hear, and it drives me crazy, because ultimately, like, first of all, how much more research do you need to do? How much more research do you need to do before you're actually going to get started on the thing? The reality is that the getting ready to get ready phase, it's prolonged for years for so many people. And my whole thing is, you know, like to each its own, right? No, you don't have to create a passive income stream. You don't have to have an online business. You don't have to write a book. You don't have to create a course. You don't have to do any of these things if you don't want to. But my pet peeve, my biggest pet peeve is when somebody says they want to do it and they're not executing it. So I don't know if you know this about me, but you're about to learn that, like, you know, I really realistically say that words sort of don't really mean anything, right? I sort of don't believe anything till I see it done. And the reason for that is because how many people, and if you have a number, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'd love to hear an actual number or a guesstimate even. How many people have you heard say, I want to write a book. I want to write a book about, you know, such and such someday. Cool. Why aren't you doing it? It's a simple question. Why aren't you doing it? Question mark. Because again, this want to, this thinking about, this getting ready to, this researching, like none of that means anything, you guys. Can we talk about that? Dozens, Carolyn, that's a good start. That's a good start. And I would say it's probably a low estimate, but you're right? And these are just the people that have voiced it to you. So one could probably take a guess that there's quite a few others. Hey, Alfonso. So, you know, the reality is this research phase, I'm just going to call it, you guys, you know, a small amount of research, totally valid. A small amount of getting ready, totally valid, right? Get ready. But can we call BS on 80+% of research that it's just an excuse? It's just a delay tactic. The reality is you know everything that you need to know to get started. And the reality is, just like with riding a bike, there's really no other way to learn. You can read about riding bikes and you know, where to put your feet and all of that for 100 years. But the reality is you're going to learn to ride the bike by getting on the darn bike. You're going to learn to ice skate by putting your feet in the darn ice skate. And it's the same thing with online businesses. At some point, you have to actually execute. And what I am seeing is a way larger percentage of people that are yapping and wanting and wishing and whatever than are actually doing. And then there's, of course, the crowd that are doing with no method, no system, and for years and years and years, hoping that it'll just click on its own. The reality is you need to know also when to call it and say, you know what, I'm not the expert in this, I need some help. Just like, and this is, you know, for, again, our health professional clients, which, you know, 8 out of 10 people watching this are probably health professionals. You know, what I hear all the time is it drives you crazy how your clients come in, your patients or your clients come into the office with a stack of papers from Google going, you know, I think I have such and such diagnosis. Homie, and yet you're doing this with your business. You're doing this with your business. You are Googling or trying or just writing a book and hoping it sells. Is that not the exact same thing as Googling what is wrong with, is this cancer? Is that not the same thing? And of course, you know, like one might argue that health might be, you know, I don't know, on a different priority level than business. I'm going to argue it's not. I mean, for me, you know, of course, business is my thing. That degree over there, which way is it? There, boom, is in business, not in health, right? So this is sort of my lifeblood. It's what I do. It's what I love. It's my sport. But the reality is I want to get to what it's actually costing you, because this is the part that I think is important. But before I do, you know, research is kind of the first thing, right? The most common reasons. Research is the same, is the first thing that is, you know, a super, super common reason of like, I need to do more research. So I'm going to challenge you, if you're watching this and that fits, right? First of all, self-awareness, right? High five, because that's 50% of it. So if you're identifying with that, and if you want to put a confession in the comments, I will take the confessions. Hey, Katie. Hey, Angie. You know, I'll take the confessions all day long. I'm a huge fan of confessions. But if that's you, I'm just going to ask you, how much longer? How much longer are you going to hide behind, I need to do more research? I'm just curious. I'm just curious, because if we can identify that as an excuse and as a barrier, that's kind of BS, because the reality is you've done the research. The reality is you know enough. So whether the research is on your actual topic, right? Whether it's you want to become more of an expert on Lyme disease, or whether the research is, well, I'm just not sure what I should do business-wise. The reality is you've probably done the research. If you're watching this Facebook Live, this is probably not your very first interaction. This is probably not your very first time you're hearing about this. So I'm just going to ask you this. Do you have a deadline for yourself? And if not, just because you know it, hey, look, we titled this Real Talk, and there should be a disclaimer. Only enter this room if you're about to, if you're willing to get real, because that's the only setting I've got. But if you haven't, you know, cut yourself off yet, if you haven't given yourself a deadline, I'm going to invite you to give yourself a deadline. Like, at what point is the research complete? This Friday? Can you do the research by this Friday at noon? Because the reality is the longer you delay this, the longer you hide behind that research excuse, the longer it's going to take you to start and the longer it's going to take you to get results. Facts. I'm not making this up. This is common sense facts. Hey, Sarah, girl, good to see you. So the other thing that comes up a lot, and I'm only going to give you 3. So I give you 1. The first most common reason is research. I'm going to call BS on all of that, right? So 8 out of 10 times, that is just BS. The reality is you do a little bit of research, sure. And cut yourself off, homie, because the reality is the research part should be minimal, and at some point you need to get on the dang bike. You need to put your feet in the roller skates, right? There's no other way to do it. You have to start actually doing. You have to move forward. Pick up, you get to that intersection, you're not sure if you're going to turn left, right, or go forward. The reality is you got to pick one. You got to pick one. And worst case scenario, you pivot later. Worst case scenario, you pivot later. Cool. The second one is not the right time. We're doing a pet peeve Facebook Live, you guys, because there are 100 reasons you could give me, and this is another one that drives me crazy. Not the right time. And by not the right time, what I think it means, and what I think not the right time means not the perfect time. And I want to talk about that, and I want to make that little distinction. And if this resonates with you, I would love to hear in the comments. And I know there's 3 different places, 3 different sets of comments probably, and I can only see 1 as I'm on live. So I will probably see some of the comments later on the replay. But please do comment, because I do want to hear about this. But the reality is it's more of not the perfect time. And can we talk for a second about the perfect time to do anything? When's the perfect time to have a baby? Perfect time to, buy a house? When's the perfect time to start a business? When's the perfect time to... The reality is there's kind of sort of no perfect time ever for any of those things, right? I want you to think about that actually logically. I want you to think about that as far as when is the perfect time. We can delay this till infinity looking for the perfect time, and guess what? It's not coming. The perfect time is not going to be here. And I would argue, because I get to pick for me what is the perfect time, what is the right time, and sometimes the universe picks for us, by the way. But I would argue that the perfect time was yesterday. The perfect time already expired. Perfect time was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And the second best time is right the heck now. Because I want you to be really, and this is like a little bit of a self-awareness, self-coaching tool here, but I want you to get real with yourself. How often have you done this? Is this a pattern of yours that you need to identify and decide? I'm not saying you need to fix it. If you're cool with this, if this is working for you in your life, the finding the perfect time, the delaying everything till the perfect time, and that's working for you and giving you the results in your personal life, in your business, in your finances, in every area that you want it to give you, amazing, girlfriend, keep going, right? Dude, if it's working, awesome. As a matter of fact, click the X. You probably don't need this Facebook Live. But my guess is it's not. My guess is that there's a little bit of self-awareness starting to happen. Hopefully, my mission in this world, if I do nothing else before I take my last breath, is to incite a little bit of self-awareness. And my guess is that this, not the right time is really just a delay tactic, so that you don't have to do the difficult things that are required to get you the results that you want. So in our world, what that is putting yourself out there, creating a passive income stream, going online, putting your work out there, putting your face out there, putting your words out there, possibly facing some criticism along the way, right? And so you're hiding behind this not the right time, as if it's, August versus October is going to make any bit of difference. The reality is it's not. The reality is the sooner you do it, the better. And you guys, I'm speaking from a place of having spoken to hundreds of people at this point. Clients and non-clients alike, hundreds of people. So I'm taking statistics basically, right? I'm taking the volume of times I've heard this and I'm going, this is statistically impossible. And not only that, checking in with people who we spoke to 18 months ago who are still in the exact same spot, who it wasn't a matter of 3 months, it's a matter of you trick yourself. As intelligent beings that we are, we trick ourselves into not the right time so that we can buy more time. 3 months become 6 months, become 9 months, become a year, become 10 years. Easy, right? So I want you to just check in with yourself and go, am I doing this? Is it possible that I'm doing this? Is it possible that this is an excuse? Okay, and I put reasons in the title, but honestly, you could go ahead and cross that out and put excuses, because that's the reality of what this is. And the last one, so I said, the first one was researchaholics. The second one is not the right time. And the third one, and this is an important one, and one that I've done a Facebook Live on before, and I will never get tired of this topic. I'm sure you could probably guess what it is. Lack of time and or money. I'm going to lump it into one, because in my opinion, it's sort of kind of the same thing. And of course, we can make excuses for, I don't know, just having lost a job. We can make extreme scenarios, losing a home, losing a job, extreme scenarios that are short-term, short-lived, where you can say, all right, you could probably use that excuse on me pretty validly of like, not the right time. Okay, cool. I'm going to challenge you on make sure that doesn't become never, because that's what it usually becomes. But that should be a pretty short-term circumstance. And the majority of people are not in extreme circumstances. The majority of people saying not enough time, don't have the money, one or the other or both. The reality is, and here's the shift that I want to produce in you, is it's totally, again, no right or wrong, right? You do not have to create an online business. You do not have to create a passive income stream. You do not have to write a book. You do not have to do any of these things. You do not have to. But if you want to, because you know that trading your time for dollars in your business, or being in this day job that you absolutely hate or whatever, ain't it for the long haul, I want to challenge you on, is it that you don't have the time and money? Or is it that it is not a priority for you right now? And it's a very simple shift. But what I'm asking you, what I'm challenging you, is to admit and to use the correct language, which is, it is not a priority for me right now. And that could be for any part of your life. Maybe buying a house isn't a priority for you right now. Maybe moving isn't a priority for you right now. Maybe dialing in your nutrition or your fitness isn't a priority for you right now. Maybe starting your business isn't a priority for you right now. Cool. But what I want to incite is, let's not fool ourselves. Let's not fool ourselves that it isn't actually, that it isn't actually that. Let's not fool ourselves into thinking there are external circumstances that we have zero control over, because the reality is we have a heck of a lot of control, at least over the big picture, right? Like, again, we can talk about, scenarios where you can be like, but Sylvie, in these 2 particular weeks, this thing happened. Okay, cool. But I'm going to zoom out and say, homie, if you've been saying the same thing now for 5 years, I'm going to challenge you that it is not that one event, and it is not those 2 weeks. It is you. And again, with all the love in the world, this is real talk and diagnosis time. It's you, and you're procrastinating, and you're holding back. And I'm going to say, it's not about lack of time. It's not about lack of money. It's about the things that we talked about in previous Facebook Lives. It's about fear. It's about indecision and lack of decisiveness. Facts, right? Because again, you can only hide behind these excuses. These excuses are totally valid in a little blip, right? They're totally valid in this tiny little sliver of time. You can say this on a Tuesday of, August, 15th, I'm making stuff up. You can say that. And then if I check in with you a year, 18 months later, and it's the same excuse, I'm going to challenge you that it's not a priority for you right now. And again, totally valid. But what I would love to challenge you with is, stop fooling yourself. Stop putting yourself in this position where you're saying you're wanting to, where you're going to, and whatever. It's sort of this eternal New Year's resolution type thing happening 12 months a year, where you're consistently letting yourself down because you don't go do the darn thing. So I would love to hear if any or all of the above are excuses that you're making on a regular basis. Are you, hiding behind, I just need to do more research? Are you hiding behind not the right time or not the perfect time? Or are you hiding behind, I can't afford it, meaning either I don't have the time or I don't have the money, when it's really that it's not a priority for you right now? I'm going to challenge you to go ahead and comment with what that is and come back and check on you guys. And of course, if you're here live and I can see it, awesome. And then the last piece of this, and I know I'm running long, so I'm going to try and speed it up. But the reality is, I also want to talk about what this is costing you. And this is, again, from a self-awareness perspective, where I'm not here to convince you at all, right? If you don't want to create a passive income stream, if you don't want to create an online business, if you're totally happy in your day job or in your practice, I don't know why you're on this Facebook Live. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to hang out with you, but I don't know why you'd be listening to me this far into this Facebook Live at this point, if you're completely happy. But if you're not, I'm going to let you know that every single day, I'm not talking about weeks, I'm not talking about months, I'm not talking about years, which by the way, days become all of those things real quick. But every single day that you delay this decision, every single day that you delay the start, every single day that you continue to research, that you continue to say, I'm going to DIY it, even though it hasn't worked in the last 7 months. Every single day that you do that is one day less that you're living that life that you're trying to create. It's every single day it's costing you the impact that you're trying to make. There are people Googling for you right now and not finding what you have because you can't be, bothered to make this a priority. Cool, but that's happening. And you're losing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, because we're talking about days, but the reality is I know what days turn into, at the very least months, if not years. You're missing out on so much money, it's insane. And to illustrate that point, I'm going to tell you about 2 different clients. And I'm not going to name names, but 2 different clients and that are kind of, and of course there's scenarios all in between, but just to highlight the 2 differences. A client that has been working on her business for years and not making much traction. We're talking about, I feel like it's cents per hour, but working for years on that. And a client that's just started and, hired us. Now, initially, the results for the person that had been working for years with very little results versus the one that had just started and hired us off the bat, the person that's been working for years has gotten more results faster, right? We were able to sort of turbocharge, make a few tweaks. Hey, there's a small audience, boom, making sales right away. And the one that just started and hired us, it's going to take a little bit, right? Audience of 0, no product, no sales experience, no marketing experience, no nothing, starting from scratch on every vector, on every level. So at a glance, you might say, ooh, well, that sounds better, right? Like the making sales right away. Maybe I should go do this, go build my audience for free, work my butt off for cents for years. And then I, hire Sylvie, hire her team, hire a mentor, find a system and a program, plug it in, and boom, overnight success. Overnight success in massive air quotes. But what I'm going to argue, and I'm ecstatic for her, and I love getting her to multiple 6 figures so fast, love it. But the reality is I'm going to argue that she's lost out on probably 7 figures over those 3 years. So I want to highlight that for you because what I'm going to highlight is that this person that has just started and the results are slow and we've got a lot of work to do and we've got a lot of laying foundation where it doesn't look like we're building a house, it looks like a slab of cement because that's exactly how we start, is going to be better off 3 years in than the person that has been trying it and erroring it for 3 straight years. Does that make sense, you guys? I want to know if you're picking up what I'm putting down because this is super important, right? And now, listen, like I said, the best time was 3 years ago or yesterday, but the second best time is today. So no matter in which of those scenarios or somewhere in between that you lay, that you fall, hey, look, whatever, right? But understand that DIY, let me figure it out and skin my knees, break my legs and whatever else, and then I'm going to get the help and support that I need is probably the worst way to do it. It's probably the worst way to do it, right? And so understand, and again, what I want, if nothing else, out of this Facebook Live is simply the self-awareness. Are you hiding behind any of these 3 most common excuses? And what is it actually costing you? So if that, let's say, let's just make easy math because I can't do math in case you haven't found that out about me yet. If we're going for that 100K a year, or let's do even easier math. If we're going for 120K a year, that 10K a month mark, and you're at 0 right now with your online business, the reality is every single month that goes by, you're losing 10K from when that would start, right? And I'm not saying that when you start, that day 2, you're going to be bringing in 10K a month with an audience of 0, no product and everything else. That's most definitely not what I'm saying. There's definitely some rolling up of sleeves and some work to put in. But every single day that you delay that, you delay the results. Does that make sense? And so I want you to be really real because I would be doing you a disservice if I let you hide behind these excuses. So all I'm here to do is bring my flashlight and shine a light on it and say, you know what? Get real with yourself. Is this something that you're doing? How much longer are you willing to do this? And, really having you, the reality is you have to decide, are you going to continue to procrastinate, which is really, the reality is every single day that goes by, you're closer to never. Every single day, you're closer to never, which is what most people do. And if you start, if you're ready to start, if you're ready to mess up, if you're ready to look stupid, doing your first, whatever, that's not your best, make mistakes, right? If you're willing to do that because you're willing to move that up, you're willing to move your dream up, right? You're willing to move it up as opposed to delay it and get closer and closer to never. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. I would love to hear if that resonated. I would love to hear which part of that resonated the most. Leave me a comment below. And of course, as always, if you're a health professional looking to create passive income online and need some help and support, book a call with my team and we'll let you know if we can help you or not. The reality is, as much as we want to help absolutely every soul, the reality is we can't. There are some criteria that we need to meet in order to be able to help you and take you to the next level. But a quick call with my team will let you know that. And if not, we'll point you in the right direction, whether that's a book recommendation or another mentor or group or something like that instead. The link to book a call with my team will be below. Someone will put it here below. It's sylviamccracken.com/call. I'm going to be on a plane tomorrow, but I'm going to try and get on a Facebook Live in my travels. We've got some summer travel coming up. So excited to share some of these insights that we're getting from our clients and our calls with other health professionals that are not clients of ours. And I love coming on a Facebook Live real quick and sharing this with you. If this resonated with you, please comment and share, and I will talk to you really, really soon. Bye for now.